Manchester United's new head coach Ruben Amorim has visited Old Trafford as he begins preparations for his first game in charge of the club. When he took over as United head coach on Monday after overseeing a 4-2 win against Braga in his final game at Sporting, United's first home game under Amorim will be against Bodo Glimt on November the 28th. And the new head coach has been getting used to his new surroundings at Old Trafford. The United women's team also posted this photo of Amorim with their number 7, Ella Toone, on Instagram.
Our centre forward, let's move to the front now. Our centre forward is Højlund, I'm assuming. Yes.
Yeah.
So in terms of the two behind, we're talking about moving a winger there, essentially, or Bruno, or Mason Mount.
Yeah.
So on paper, or you mentioned Zirkzee, I'm not sure about Zirkzee because Zirkzee is literally the only other centre forward you have.
Yeah.
So, and Højlund's not going to play every minute of every game, right? The issue with Bruno is those two, when I watch Sporting, those guys have to cover a lot of ground, and they're actually quite involved in the press. I'm not sure that is Bruno's strength. So there's been some suggestion, maybe you play Bruno deeper.
Yeah, with
in the
one
two.
of Ugarte or Casemiro or Mainu.
Because if you look at the two midfielders that they used, generally, they're dynamic, cover a lot of ground, but you always have one that's more defensive and one that's actually attacks a lot more.
Yeah, that's
and comes through the middle.
Possible.
That could be Bruno.
Yeah.
In terms of the wing backs, and I think this is dangerous it's a dangerous game to play when we say he's imagining, right? Because if you see Sporting now, the guy they have that Kenda guy,
the
17-year-old, he's a winger. He was always a striker, right?
Yeah.
And yet he's playing as a wing back. So I think a lot of people are looking at this. Okay, well, United have two attacking wing backs in Dalot and Mazraoui. Surely he's going to play them there. I don't think he's going to view it that way. From what I read from people who know more about Sporting than I do, also his wing backs aren't symmetrical. He generally has one that goes and attacks and is essentially a winger. The other wing back often comes inside, and I'm thinking Mazraoui, for example, is the kind of guy who he was a central midfielder early in his career. We saw him even play at number 10 in the Europa League. He's somebody who maybe on the right could be the one who comes inside, especially if you play Ugarte Casemiro. You want a passer there. That could be a role for him.
Yeah.
On the left, I'm wondering, it was suggested that longer term again, somebody like Amad Diallo might be a better fit. Reason being, Amad Diallo's left-footed. So, and he often, and on the left side, he likes to have, or he's had in Kenda somebody who can go and deliver a natural left foot to deliver crosses rather than somebody coming inside. I mean, this is all speculation.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, Luke Shaw is the best left wing back that this squad, if he's ever fit and can play, that this squad can have anyway. So I think he'd be perfect there. If you don't have Luke Shaw, I'm just not sure in the Premier League you can afford to have a winger playing at wing back, simply because obviously the lack of defensive ability will be very, very obvious, will be targeted. And even if you play really with the back five, I think that's a massive risk that I'm not sure I would take personally. I would much rather have Dalot and Shaw, Dalot, Mazraoui and Shaw as my wing backs than trying to make Garnacho a wing back or Amad a wing back or Rashford a wing back or whoever else, like he did at Sporting with his young winger, because again, Sporting is the Portuguese league, and I think this is very different. But he might try, and we've seen in the past some things like that kind of worked. I just think that if you already have the right players to fit in there, why would you try something different?
Well, I think the argument might be: are those the right players? That
I think Dalot, Mazraoui, Shaw are much better wing backs than anybody else in that squad, naturally.
But we use the term wing back in a certain way, where to define the position, there's different ways to interpret it, right?
But you need some people who still defend, man. You can't just have Garnacho and Rashford that use two wing backs. That doesn't make much sense.
Okay. I mean, I'm not suggesting, by the way,
No,
having
no. I mean,
Garnacho
I'd be
in-
very surprised. I'm all for it if you want, but I'd be very surprised.
Well,
if
I'm
you-
saying is, but this is what he's done at Sporting. He's
yeah, but
taken.
again, when he says I need to adapt, I can't do at United what I've done at Sporting. Surely this is part of the conversation.
Okay. When I go back to his first team, that his first Sporting winning side, when he had like sort of João Mario as like the number 10, as was one of the 2 10s and stuff. The first thing that comes out is you have extremely high energy
Yeah,
players,
high intensity. Yeah,
and that is another, I think, if you want, mark against Bruno. I'm wondering if maybe the solution is, especially if you go with Ugarte, some combination of Ugarte, Casemiro, Kobe Mainoo is another one who,
yeah, could play higher up. or
although
deeper.
if I don't know the Kobe Mainoo in terms of intensity, in terms of ability to cover ground, Kobe Mainoo is not a top tier athlete the way Ugarte is, for example. Kobe Mainoo is more about quality.
Yeah,
Again, he's 19. I don't. I mean, maybe you can develop it, maybe you can't. I think that's going to be possibly a tricky. The Mainoo Ugarte in the two, I think that's going to be a little tricky because if you start asking Kobe Mainoo to go and cover a ton of ground and go to the side and
Yeah.
whatever, Kobe Mainoo at 10, if you ask him to press, I don't think that's possible. I think
I mean, Marcus Edwards was a key player for Sporting under Amorim, and he's never been that massive press machine either. So, I think he can also work if one of your 2 10s is not the most intense, like Edwards was. I still think that can work.
and then you have the issue of resource allocation, right? Because United, because they're the team of wingers, you know, Rashford, Garnacho, Diallo, Anthony.
Yeah, what do you do with them?
You kind of have to sit them down and say, listen, in my team, you either become this wingback person that we talked about, that Gab and Jules talked about,
Yeah.
and Jules thinks you can't defend,
Yeah.
prove him wrong, or you become a number 10 who gives me a lot of energy and really helps Hoyland when we press from the front in that way. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be up to them to adapt. I mean,
Yeah,
we've only seen Garnacho play as a winger, run in straight lines. It doesn't mean this has to define who he is as a player and as a person, right?
No, true.
Rashford, we think, I mean, he's played centrally as a forward. Can he play centrally? I think when he started, he played in the 2 as well with Van Gaal occasionally. I mean, could he be a 10? Can he reinvent himself? This is, I think, the big challenge for a lot of these players, that if this new system does come in,
Yeah.
they're going to have to adapt.
Yeah, sure. The only thing is when you're 14th or 13th in the table and you need points, like you said, and you won't have time to work because you've got games every 3 days with your beloved Europa League, then I think
Yeah.
it's tricky. If you have plenty of time, I don't know, like let's say an Eddie Howe to move Joy Linton from a number 9 to
Midfield.
a midfielder number 8, as well as they did, I think you need a lot of time to work with those players. I think, unfortunately for Amorim, the last thing he will have is time to
Yeah.
work on things. So I think that makes it harder. Of course, you can try to shape Rashford in a different way, or Garnacho, or Ahmad. Anthony, I've lost faith in. I'm not sure what I can do. Or, like you said earlier, Gabby, you just go back to a more traditional 4-2-3-1 where maybe people fit more already in the squad and keep your principles, but just move them from what you've done at Sporting into a back four. The only thing is, he looks so dogmatic. He looks like being a very dogmatic coach. I just wonder if he's ready to give up that 3-4-2-1.
That's the challenge. And also, he's a younger coach, obviously. And we know that a lot of coaches, when they're young and are successful initially, they're very dogmatic. I have to tell the Carlo Ancelotti story of saying, like, I don't need Zola because I'm going to play a 4-4-2 and he can't play on the wing. And, so, and then you kind of go on this journey. And I wouldn't be surprised if he comes and he accepts he needs to be less dogmatic straight away. I wonder if we're not going to see maybe a 4-2-3-1 or maybe a 4-3-3 even, albeit with Bruno playing deeper, and somebody else kind of learning the 10. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it is imperative that they move up the table. It is for, I think, essentially 2 reasons. One is obviously the financial side of it. They were very close to breaching profit and sustainability rules.
Yeah.
It's going to impact what they can do in the summer. Now, it is true that the whole squad, their salaries go down if they don't qualify for the Champions League and blah, blah, blah. And that's designed to negate this possibility. But still, you need wiggle room.
Yeah.
It's easier to track players if you're in the Champions League, sponsors, whatever else. And
Hello, football fans. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the latest news coming from Old Trafford, and it's all about Marcus Rashford and his potential role in Ruben Amorim's new-look Manchester United. After a rocky start to the season, the new head coach is already making some bold moves to turn things around. Could Marcus Rashford be about to find his best form again? Let's find out. Ruben Amorim officially took over as Manchester United's head coach on November 11th, replacing Erik ten Hag after a disappointing start to the season. The club was struggling, and with back-to-back poor performances in the Premier League, Amorim was brought in to turn things around. Now Amorim comes with a big reputation. At Sporting CP, he won 2 league titles in 4 seasons and broke the dominance of Benfica and Porto. He's known for his tactical flexibility and his ability to develop players. But now, the question is, how will his 3-4-3 system fit in at United? And what does it mean for Marcus Rashford? Rashford's been through a rough patch recently. After a sensational 30-goal season in 2022-23, he signed a huge contract worth £375,000 a week. But last season under Ten Hag, he only managed 8 goals in all competitions, and this season he struggled again with just 4 goals and 3 assists in 18 appearances. With Alejandro Garnacho pushing for a place on the wing and Rashford's form still inconsistent, fans have been wondering where exactly he fits in Amorim's new system. So, let's break down Amorim's tactics. The Portuguese coach is known for his attacking 3-4-3 formation with 2 number 10s playing just behind a traditional number 9. Now that raises the question, where does Marcus Rashford fit in? Some fans have suggested that Rashford could be used as a wing-back, given Amorim's attacking philosophy. However, insiders close to the club have hinted that Amorim may actually try Rashford as the central striker. Yes, you heard that right, a number 9. The reasoning behind this move is clear. Rashford has the pace and ability to attack the channels, making him a threat in transition, a key part of Amorim's style of play. It could be the perfect opportunity for him to rediscover the form that saw him score 30 goals the year before. As of now, United's main striker options are Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee, but neither has really delivered consistently this season. Højlund, who missed the early part of the season with an injury, has scored just 2 goals in 10 appearances. Zirkzee's lone goal came on his debut against Fulham, but he hasn't found the back of the net since. This creates the perfect opportunity for Amorim to experiment with Rashford in the middle. Could he be the answer to United's striking problems? Manchester United are desperate to get Rashford firing again. Despite his struggles, club bosses have been impressed with his performances in pre-season and the early part of this campaign. There's still belief that Rashford can return to his best. With Amorim's tactical changes, we could see Rashford return to the number 9 position, where he can use his pace and ability to stretch defenses. If that happens, could he rediscover the form that made him one of the Premier League's most exciting forwards? So, what do you think? Will Ruben Amorim's 3-4-3 system be the key to unlocking Marcus Rashford's full potential, or will it be another difficult season for the England international? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to like the video and subscribe for more Manchester United updates. Until next time, take care.